Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you happen to be. Welcome to another edition of the Living World of Darkness, New York by Night. The scene is set in front of what can only be described as the front facade to some sort of scrapyard or other metalworking or welding facility before these canines. These canines have been kindred. Wrong game. These kindreds have been contacted by one Frank Green via their primogen with a book cipher, or just directly with the same book cipher of a specific address he wishes everybody to at least gather at. Yeah. And these different kindred can go ahead and approach the building as they wish. They can arrive as they wish, just so long as they find themselves in the front facade. The front facade is pretty much a concrete wall next to a sidewalk with one or two, well, actually only two entrances. The entrances are also fairly plain. Everything's painted white. It has the doors have a single knob to them. In fact, the only way that you could really verify that this was exactly the right place was simply because of the huge sign that says City Scrap with the bulldog underneath.
Lady Sheridan will get out of her car, prompt as usual, and will make her way to one of the doors.
Mm-hmm.
And not quite loudly. Thump, thump, thump.
You go ahead and produce that thump, thump, thump. Behind the door, you can actually start to hear something. It sounds like sounds like booming music, as if quite briefly something else was open on the other side, and this loud music, this loud dubstep, in fact, starts to reverberate. You can actually feel it through the door and hear it through the door as well, as one particular gentleman goes ahead and opens it. He seems bald cap. He seems to be wearing a black shirt, and in front of these signs says Doghouse Security, and he just sort of looks at you.
Excuse me, she says, and moves to walk right past him.
Let you.
And she'll head straight inside.
All right. Inside, you'll hear that same whomping music. You'll hear that same dubstep. Before you happens to be another door that leads further on, and this door actually has a window through it. And through that window, you see this darkened room. And through this window, this darkened room, you can definitely see lights flashing on and off. In fact, you can see a stage quite prominent there with actually what looks like to be a DJ. The DJ, for his part, you're going to have to go ahead and walk inside. The first instinct, the first feeling that you feel when you look inside this place is that this is some sort of rave, because inside you can see a multitude of bodies just bumping and dancing and grinding and having just a fantastic time, losing all of their concerns. Everything about the world of darkness that sucks is not here.
What people might not expect is that there is in fact a small smile at the corner of Lady Sheridan's mouth, but she quickly squashes it and makes her way through, keeping her eyes peeled for where she is expecting to meet Frank Green.
Right. You go ahead and walk in. I'm going to head and take Lady Sheridan for a while, since she's being the one that's actually walking around. You go ahead and enter this particular, and right from the get-go, you are squelched, you are squashed. You feel the heat radiating off of all of the other ravers, actually. They seem to be wearing next to nothing. This place is so hot, so mildew. There's a heavy musk in the air of just sweat. Around you, you can see that people have gone ahead and painted themselves with glowing paint, mostly on their arms, on their chests, and some mysteriously have them over their face, actually circling the eye socket. They also have glow sticks wrapped around their wrists. They seem to be having a fantastic time with themselves, getting involved with themselves. You can't walk an inch without getting groped by somebody else. On the stage, you can see that whoever this DJ is seems to be well within it, and maybe a little bit too in it, maybe a little bit high. He seems to be spinning his records quite rapidly, quite quickly. You can see that he's wearing what appears to be sunglasses, but when you look at it a little bit better, you can see they're wide brim and actually have these spirals where they should be. It doesn't offer much viewing. It just looks really outrageous. And he's currently wearing this fantastical top hat that has different braids of pink, black, going all the way up, at least a foot off of his head.
And does this guy with the shades look at all like Frank Green?
Oh, no, actually.
No. It's just because tendency to wear shades.
Yep. Good guess, but no.
No, she'll make her way through to where she thinks she might be able to be likely to find the sheriff, looking for something like the closest thing a rave is likely to have to a VIP area. And she'll use force of personality as much as an occasionally well-placed heel to make her way through.
You go ahead and do so. Most of the ravers go ahead and push and grind against you, but with the force of your personality, you at least shove your way through. The music is so loud, people can barely hear over everybody else, and occasionally a laser...
I didn't mean her saying anything.
I know.
She was quite skilled with the glare.
Oh, yeah, I know. And then again, everybody's perception is not geared towards sight anyways, just movement, just sensation. In fact, if you do open your eyes for a little bit too long, you get sort of blinded. All these laser lights are flying whichever way. But go ahead and look around. And you notice some people that you might have met before. You notice several tall women that seem to have specifically their closed eyelids painted with this bright red glowing paint.
Okay. So she'll make her way over to one of them.
Alright.
Do they seem to be kind of like busy, involved, or do they kind of dotted around almost deliberately?
They seem dotted around almost deliberately, as if they're not trying to draw much attention to themselves. They're trying to draw people who know what they need to look for. And if you've ever been around Frank Green in his establishments, he might have brought one or two of these different Amazonian tall women with him as well. You can go ahead and find one of them that looks familiar to you, at least.
I'm looking for Frank. I suppose you've seen him.
The Amazonian woman will go ahead and look towards you and say, name?
Sheridan.
She goes ahead and looks towards you and simply says, exit, take a left, 10 feet, parking lot.
Excellent. And she'll follow the directions.
All right. You go ahead and follow the directions. You have to fight your way again through this crowd of people, past the blinding lights, the music, and all the other nonsense until you get on the other side of this particular darkened chamber, darkened rave hall. You find the exit, push it open without much to do. Down the corridor happens to be another door, and through that door happens to be sort of a parking lot. It's yeah, definitely a parking lot, and right there on the other side you can definitely see Frank Green, who is currently leaning against one of the cement walls and currently has a dog leash in his hand, and the end of that leash happens to be a rather mean-looking dog.
Between the exit of the nightclub and the entrance to the car park, she'll have taken the opportunity to use one of her wet wipes to remove any trace UV paint that will have transferred during pushing through.
Oh yeah, yeah, that works.
And we'll be back to looking her pristine Ventry self by the time she arrives. And you might notice that rather than the boots that she's taken to wearing quite frequently lately, where she tends to hide the knife, she's wearing more of like the strappy laces up the leg kind rather than. So probably not with the bringing the knife. And she'll just stroll over.
Frank Green just sort of looks towards you, noticing that you're the first one here. He simply goes ahead and says, "Didn't feel like staying and dancing for a bit?"
I prefer to prioritize business and enjoy the pleasure at my leisure.
Fair enough. Anybody else respond? Do you know?
I don't know. But unfortunately, I wasn't quite able to get hold of the young Ventry from yesterday night. I spoke with him after our meeting, of course, but I mean this evening.
No, I understand, and pity, but oh well. What are you gonna do?
She'll smile and give a small shrug. Interesting choice of place.
Well, it's part of the underground factory ran by a toreador that's no longer in the city. I like to frequent the place, like to at least keep it open and operating. Never in the same place twice, though, which makes it hard to find a venue.
You do seem to put the effort into maintaining things that others may have let slip.
Oh, really?
Well, you introduced me to that charming opera house, and now to this.
Are you saying I don't have a personality of my own?
No, no, not at all. I'm just saying that you seem to find the value in things that many people do not.
Who knows? I might just become the historian of the city if I live long enough.
Or an honorary toreador.
Yeah. You should see our Primogen. He runs a fashion, dress and suits.
Yes, I am well aware.
That being said, you do look very nice this evening.
Thank you. I thought I would dress appropriately.
Dress appropriately for a rave? Because you didn't seem to enjoy it that much.
She'll raise an eyebrow. Well, as I said, Elysium first. Besides, one must always consider the masquerade.
Yes, yes, of course, of course. If you're here for business, I'm not one to stop you.
At this point, the exit door will swoosh open and slam shut, and Rick will sort of stumble out of the crowd inside and into the parking lot outside. He's wearing more formal clothing than he probably ought to have, and it's a bit messy now after squeezing through so many people. His blazer's maybe, crooked. He's got glow paint smeared on his pants and his coat. His hair is messy, and he looks over to Frank and Lady Sheridan and just sort of shakes his head a little as he walks over.
Rick, my good man, what's wrong?
What is this?
What do you mean, what is this? Is it a gathering?
Would have liked to have known what kind of gathering.
Like I said, a gathering. I didn't use the word Elysium because I didn't want to confuse anybody.
You also didn't not use the word emergency.
It was an emergency.
He just sort of looks at Frank like, that was my point.
Justin, if you would like, I can run you through exactly what you'll be walking through. Should be no problem for a Nosferatu of your caliber.
By all means, go for it.
Alright, fair enough. Mr. Silas, you come to the scrapyard. The scrapyard is apparently an address that Frank Green has gone ahead and forwarded to you with the book Cipher. The front facade is pretty much all white, all concrete, except for one or two doors. If you've been watching at any point whatsoever, you saw Lady Sheridan go ahead and find access very, very easily simply by knocking and having the door opened to her by a man, shaved head, black t-shirt, says security on it. If you would like, you can go ahead and knock the door or be a sneaky Nosferatu and just follow.
Yeah, sneaky Nosferatu.
Aww.
Nosferatu.
I wanted us to go through, go through the whole thing.
Oh crap! Is my ghoul there?
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
driving Smurfette. And you, or well, you assumed when you jumped in, I'd be driving the two of you. Because we don't know. We don't know what we're meeting for.
Yeah, I'm still thinking sneaky Nosferatu, but I might be looking over Hopper's shoulder.
Okay. So I don't know you're in the car, great. So yeah, he'll pull up the car, he'll open the door for what he thinks is just the lovely Lady Rose. Hopper's got kind of the build of a lightweight kind of a featherweight boxer. Or lightweight actually, lightweight's more appropriate for him. Today, using various cosmetic techniques and things, he unfortunately did not know what kind of place he was going to. So today he's got a blonde beard, he's got sunglasses on, and he's wearing a bandana where you can see wisps of blonde hair. If the bandana was to be taken off, it looks like he's balding, like just all around the back, that nasty kind of balding. Not like receding from the front, but just the back. All gone, but all the rim is there and really long, just like a really bad-looking biker. He does not look pretty, even with the makeup on. And he'll wait for us to go, and then he'll start heading towards the door as he presses the button, just boom, boom, boom.
You are met by the same man that has been previously described, who simply looks at you.
Can we come in?
He goes ahead and does this little gesture.
He just shoves some money in the guy's hand and then keeps walking.
Fair enough.
You can count it. He's just like, yep. He's probably shortchanged the guy too.
Pretty
Your
much.
man didn't say a price though. So yeah, he's gonna sigh as he sees the crowd, just kind of like, because he's the only one who the temperature's gonna affect it here. He's probably gonna instantly start sweating as he tries to. Unfortunately, he's dressed really out of place, and he's not pretty, so this might actually help park the crowd. And he is happy to apply bruises.
You're pretty much walking into a rave-like environment. There is the glow sticks, there is the body paint, there is the mad DJ, there is the dub 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 step that's loud in your ears. There are the blinding, flashing lights in your eyes. You go ahead and rub against several different bodies, and you find hands just everywhere.
This is a very unusual experience for him, then.
Question.
A hint of a smile for him.
Mm-hmm.
Question there. I'm basically wearing the usual outfit, so cloak, hood on, and veil. The cloak, underneath the cloak is the clothing, which, as usual, have my wards on it, so you might want to roll something just in case that they do not, like...
Are they looking at you? Are they trying to be pervy?
Hopper is specifically, like, as in to the point of he will cause bruises on people. He will elbow. He is funneling room for you.
Hopper is in a mosh pit environment at the moment.
And if somebody starts striking back, he will take a bitch out.
Okay, fair enough. You cause a bit of ruckus, and actually some of the security are starting to notice you, that you're causing a ruckus, that you're being a gigantic asshole right now.
I believe it comes across of it looks like somebody is bodyguarding a VIP.
Yeah. Although he will kind of stop when they're like halfway through. Where are we going?
Who knows? You look around and you notice a lot of the ravers are now starting to get the point. You're kind of a jackass. They're walking away. This is total bullshit. You're harshing all of their buzz, all of their vibe, and above the crowd, at least a head above the crowd, you can see tall Amazonian women with their eyelids specifically painted red with body glow paint.
Well, I don't get the significance of that, so I'm still looking at her like, is this it?
Apparently so. And she'll... I have no clue if Rose would have seen them before. Probably has. So she'll just point you in the direction of the women.
He will start going. He'll be a little bit tamer this time, but if people like just won't get away, he will push them himself. He's not subtle with this.
All right, fair enough. Who are you trying to get at?
Well, she pointed towards those people with red eyes, so he's moving towards them.
Okay, you're able to be a gigantic asshole, push people. In fact, you're starting to harm people. You're starting to put bruises
he's not
on.
really. Well, yeah, he'll lightly. Only if they won't get out of the way.
Most of them are
He
just
is
trying
the
to
snowplow.
dance. You are in a mosh pit environment while everybody else in a rave. They don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah, well, some of them will be perceptive, and some of them are off their heads and are getting bruises. That's their problem, not his, as far as he's concerned.
You find yourself in front of a tall Amazonian woman that's currently looking down at you.
And he'll step aside. He'll step partly aside, very much able to get in between if this woman tries to harm Rose.
Well, Rose is actually looking down on the woman in her turn.
No, you guys are like exactly the
Eye
same height.
contact? Okay, awesome.
Wow.
Nice.
These are tall models.
Awesome. Yeah, Rose is rather small for a key seat, so yeah, it works. And she is bending forward a bit because noise, and she never raises her voice if she can avoid it. And yeah, she's it's like, well, I'm looking for Mr. Green.
Name?
Rose.
All right. She pretty much gives you the same sort of instructions. Go ahead and take the exit over there on the other side of the rave. Walk 10 feet to the left. There's a parking lot.
Thank you very much.
Have her look at the rave again. He'll kind of sigh, but like, they never learned. And he'll just get ready to start snowplowing it through again.
They never learn. Never, ever learn.
Oh, he's still getting jumped.
Oh, hey. Most of the
Are they
crowd
learning?
is going to try to ignore you, even though that you do go ahead and elbow somebody really hard in the ribs. Pretty much goes, oh man, you need some relaxing. You need to chill out. Shit.
My elbow, come on! Which way you putting that thing? Just keeps going.
You eventually find yourself at the exit, and following much the same instructions, you find yourself exiting out of the building into the covered parking lot, where in front of you see the other kindred of Frank Green, Lady Sheridan, and at this moment, Rick Grayson. And by the way, the prince was following you the entire time, obfuscated, because he's a sneaky
don't have a clue.
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
You know, just keeping tabs on things.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Sheriff, Mr. Grayson.
I don't believe I've met your companion.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me introduce Mr. Hopper to you. He is a ghoul of Mr. Silas and from time to time helps me out.
I see. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Hopper. I'm Lady Sheridan.
John to meet you all, Lady Sheridan, of course. And he'll kind of step off to the side and just kind of, as if he's not really expecting to talk to him anymore beyond that point.
Okay.
See, I have my ghouls well trained.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They're pricks, but they're well trained.
So,
Did
how's
you have
everybody
much?
doing?
Oh, did you have much difficulty finding your way through?
No. No, I could just walk on.
Meanwhile,
enough.
Hopper's standing there, his leather jacket covered in like glitter and grease and other people's sweat.
Yep. And blood. And some blood.
Oh, come on! Like I said, bruising is worse. If they're bleeding before you got to them.
Oh yeah. Some of them were bleeding before you got to them. Frank Green is simply going to look at all of you and said, congratulations, you made it to the gathering. Feel happy for yourselves. Now where are we taking this party?
That's your party, Mr. Green. I'm pretty sure you would have some suggestions.
I kinda do, but mostly this was just to get everybody gathered together to have the actual Elysium.
Well, in that case, I do believe there is a lovely hotel down the block there which rents out the meeting rooms, and I severely doubt that they'll be busy at this time of night.
Fair enough. If we can, well, Lady Sheridan, if you're willing to flip the bill.
Yes, that shouldn't be a problem.
Fantastic. I can arrange for transportation then.
Might have to call, would you like me to inform Mr. Pack that, we're having this kind of gathering as he's not around?
I tried to
Hard to
contact.
get at the moment.
Yes, I tried to contact him earlier this week.
It's rather strange. It's not unlike him to not reply.
Yes, quite oddly as well, Lady Arabeth seems to be failing to answer her messages. I mean, she's generally quite busy, but nevertheless. might have expected a response by this point.
How about instead of renting a hotel room, however lovely that sounds, why don't we see if we could stop by either of their work spots? I do not know this Lady Arabeth or her address, but maybe we can try and figure out something with the boiler room?
Nah. This particular gathering isn't for any sort of investigation. No. I did that last night. No, like I said, gathering. Social gathering.
Excellent. I'm quite certain we can look into Mr. Peck and Lady Arabeth at some point.
Maybe we should just give him some time. There are more kindreds hard to reach nowadays. Everybody's so busy.
Very true.
Frank Green goes ahead and starts to get his dog off full of the leash and sort of starts to walk in a particular direction towards what appears to be just a plain white van. And looks towards the rest of the party saying, well, we could take the van or that's all the transportation I arranged.
Lady Sheridan will simply walk towards the van and get in the front seat. Doesn't even bother calling shotgun this time.
Totally hiding in the back.
Yeah, because I didn't deal with the Nosferatu doing that yesterday. Speaking of who.
Speaking of which, before we go ahead and launch ourselves into the white van, proceed on to the next scene, or by scene, I mean the next setting in this particular recording, Grant! How we doing? Do we have the fame?
Hello?
There you go. It's
Hello?
always a little... I can hear you.
I always have to adjust it a little bit to get it to work correctly.
Are you good now to go?
Yeah, let me just put on my pick.
Alright, fair enough. Talk amongst yourselves.
Is anyone else going to get in the van?
Hopper's looking towards Rose. He'll go where the hell she wants him to go. That's it. He's just kind of like, are we taking the van? I don't know.
And
Not a real boy.
Rose?
He doesn't get to make these decisions.
Rose in her turn is looking at Hopper and she's like, well, it's your car. Do you want to leave it standing there in front or you want to follow with the car?
Frank Green will go ahead and say, no, you're not taking your car.
And he just steps into the van then. Because she's like, we'll take the car with us. You're not taking your car. And just walks into the van.
Okay.
Actually, no, he will wait by the door and he'll put his hand out, almost in that motion of, when you see gentlemen helping ladies into like a carriage or something like that. He'll take that kind of pose, oddly, compared to his previous behavior.
Okay. Hopper.
We go ahead and we jump towards the other side of this particular scene. This is the third time I'm going through it, but I like it. So I don't bother. I'm not very fussed for recycling it over and over again. Alex!
All
I
right.
assume you've been following some of the messages that have been sent to you.
No. I just got in. I saw this and I'm like, well, laser light show. I guess it's some sort of Elysium. Let's hop in.
Justin, as the primogen of your clan, would you have informed our dear Alex up to this particular meeting place?
Nope.
Nope. Fair enough then.
Would I expect to be able to find out on his own accord? Yep.
Okay. What do I roll?
Nosferatu style.
I'll make it easy on him. I'll put the information at his fingertips, but he actually has to look for it.
Fair enough. by fingertips, do you mean in a scene that he is currently investigating, or just along the path to one of his other investigative projects?
Yes.
Okay, Grant, what current projects are you investigating?
Well, I am working on Narnia. I am working on the crime scene we were at, and I am kind of wondering why Mr. Peck has not been answering my phone calls, but I was going to decide that or figure that out later this evening.
All right, let's go with this. While reviewing some of the evidence that was gathered at the scene previous, Mr. Silas is in fantastic efforts. Goes ahead and slips a hidden message between one of your two contacts that simply reads, "Go here," in an address.
Why? Because I enjoy messing with my own clan.
There you go. So,
Well,
Alex, you find yourself in the front of a front facade. It's white. It's cement. It's completely whitewashed. In fact, the only way you were able to confirm that this was actually the place is this big billboard in front of it that pretty much reads "Scrapyard" and has the head of a bulldog on it. Before you lies a door.
Well, let's listen to the door with the ear. What do I hear on the other side?
Big booming music. You hear the dubstep. Bum, 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 bum. Really, really loud, really, really poppy music.
Well, all right then. I will go in.
You open the door.
Yep.
You are met by a man who has a cleanly shaved head, who is currently wearing a t-shirt, black t-shirt that says security on the front pocket, and looks at you.
Frank Green? Mr. Peck? Mr. Silas?
He closes the door on you.
Fail!
Bad protecting masquerade. Bad. Very bad.
Over at the van, Frank Green gets a call. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Awesome. He's gonna look at the congregated party and simply say, "I need you guys to go ahead and leave now. I know where you're going, so don't worry about that. Apparently, there's been a problem up at the front."
I'm going to be out of character. Be right back in 2 minutes.
Fair enough.
Rose is gonna look at Hopper and asking him to drive.
Yeah, he'll cough in the driver's seat and drive to where the hell he's directed to.
Yep, you're given a set of keys by Frank Green, and you are off.
He's paying slightly more attention to the road than Lady Sheridan, who's sitting right beside him. But, you know, there's still too much to be entirely safe being paid attention to the appearance tree woman beside him. But he hopefully won't crash.
Hmm. Right. Alex, you've had the door slammed in front of your face. What are you doing now?
Check around back, I guess.
All right.
See what
You
this.
go ahead.
See if there's a back entrance.
All right. You go ahead and you start to take a bit of a walk. Actually, it seems like the other buildings around here are actually fairly connected. There aren't many alleyways here. You go ahead and make your way actually towards the far, far end of the street, where you are met with barking, actually. Really low, really loud, growling, barking.
What's this barking saying?
Do you use feral whispers?
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. It's saying, I will rip and tear that and another expletive. I will rip and tear, rip and tear, rip and tear! Seems really, really excited to go ahead and rip and tear into something.
Okay. Before you rip and tear, why the hell are you so pissed off?
You hear this barking from far, far off. If you want to go ahead and yell, you can.
Since it will just sound like more barking from another dog.
Mm-hmm.
I guess so.
Well, it'll sound like
Alright.
somebody trying to sound like a dog barking.
Right. You go ahead and you try to communicate with this dog that's just out of sight, that's just around the corner, and it'll actually start to respond to you. Because the hand that feeds, the hand that directs me to rip and tear, as the form is going to start to go ahead and make its presence known. Go ahead and turn that corner. What are you doing?
So, do I see anything other than the dog?
Now you see the dog, and now you see the dog is currently tugging at a leash, rather fervently.
So are you hungry or just pissed off?
Alright. You will not be responded to by the dog. I mean, the dog will continue to bark and scream and yell, but the voice that just responds to you simply says, you dip. And it's the feral voice of Frank Green talking through these feral whispers in this barking type tone. And the figure that goes ahead and is connected to the leash goes ahead and makes itself known, is in fact indeed the sheriff of New York.
Wait. Frank Green is the one tied up on the leash. Or...
Frank Green is currently holding that leash. Holding that leash as tightly as possible. It seems he's holding it really tight, as if he's sort of buffed up his strength, expecting a very, very big encounter.
Oh. Sorry. All I got was a message, be here, and an address. I had no idea why I was sent here. I didn't even know who sent me. I assumed it was Mr. Silas. He likes to do.
He's just going to go ahead and narrow his eyes to you. Don't use my name. Why would you do that? Why? The dog is continuing to bark at you, as if most of the rage and beast is going directly to that dog.
Because I don't know what else to call you.
You subtlety. Learn it. Ah.
Working on it.
You know what? I'll give you a freebie. Just call me the dog catcher. Okay? Next time you have to refer to me in public, dog catcher.
Okay, that works. Frank, dog catcher.
Well, yeah. Come, walk with me. How you doing, Alex? He says he's trying to visibly calm his ass down.
So, what's up with the dog?
What's up with the... you... he's just going to go ahead and walk back towards the parking lot where the white van is starting to actually exit and would presumably continue driving along. If Hopper wants to stop or if he doesn't want to stop, that's completely and utterly up to him.
Does he? He'll look towards Frank. Does Frank give him any sign, indication to stop?
He just goes ahead and gestures back to him, just
He'll
gives you
pull
the
up-
full stop and gestures back to him. He's walking with his dog and apparently
he'll drive.
Nosferatu behind him.
He'll drive a bit towards you and stop. Is Alex wearing a face he'd normally wear?
Yes.
Now, it's not necessarily sure that Hopper's had a conversation, because we haven't done a scene together, a present team. But Hopper's sometimes into warrants. He's Mr. Saw's ghoul. So he'd probably recognize him to some degree, so he'll kind of, he'll nod his head. He is wearing a lot of prosthetics, though. So he doesn't always look the same, but you'd probably generally at this stage be able to tell him build. That might be him. Especially the fact he just gave you a nod.
Frank Green is simply going to go ahead and say, up at the back, we're hopping in, as he goes ahead and does so.
He climbs in the back. It's a little difficult since he's short, but he's able to do it.
Drive on.
We'll just start driving.
And we'll end up, given the district, I'm assuming that we're quite far from the nicer hotels, but there's probably one nearby that has has more of a business clientele. You know, the staying one night, not really awake for much of it, but have meeting rooms to rent by the hour kind of place.
Mm-hmm.
And quite fortunately, she noticed it on her way down while she was trying to figure out where she was supposed to be going. So, Lady Sheridan will take them there.
All right. This particular hotel establishment does go ahead and rent out business conference rooms for however long they're particularly needed. They don't accept pets, which Frank Green is rather disappointed with. But he'll go ahead and make arrangements for the dog to stay in the van.
Before you do that,
Mhm.
Lady Sheridan's going to try the dominate and just go, "You haven't seen a dog tonight, and you will not see a dog tonight until morning."
Yeah, that'll work. I'll go ahead and accept that.
And that would be manipulation leadership, I think, because it's level. I mean, admittedly, she's kind of a bit editing the memory, but a bit giving a.
You have the prerequisite level of dominate. I'm more than willing to give this one to you as we continue on with scene.
Oh, okay. Yep, that's fine.
Fair enough. Continuing on, yes, if you want to go ahead and describe how we ascertain a conference room and find ourselves seated there, go ahead and do so, Deb.
Well, she'll inquire about a meeting room and pay for it on a credit card, and they'll all kind of head towards the room. By the way, the credit card's name is Rachel Smith. Just to say. And they'll all find themselves in not the nicest meeting room ever, but definitely functional. You know, the kind with the kind of blue fabric chairs where the fabric is slightly scratchy, but the padding is soft enough, and where the table is not solid wood but has a decent veneer on it. That kind of
Right.
a place.
Franks are just gonna go ahead and look around the room, make sure that there isn't any small surprises here. No bugs or listening devices. Not that you would expect it, but this is the world of darkness. Anybody could be listening to you with small hidden recording devices, small cameras, and the like. He goes ahead and makes the effort to go ahead and look through everything. He
Well,
makes a mental note of himself to get a scanner next time.
yep. Well, I'm going to go ahead and assume that the place has not been bugged. There is, however, a webcam in one wall attached to a slightly battered TV, but for video conferences. So that's currently, as far as you can tell, turned off. But if you want to try and cover it or something, then or unplug it from the wall. Other than that, it should all. Other than that, it should all be clean. There's a few kind of stains here and there that shows that it's been used over the years, but clean.
Frank Green has some knowledge of technology and some knowledge of computers. He'll just go ahead and take the small webcam, proceed to take it out of its socket, disconnect it, proceed to make sure that the entire system is turned all the way off, and then he'll just look to the other and say, okay, welcome to the gathering.
Thank you.
Mr. Green,
Mm-hmm.
if you want, I can make sure that no one can enter that easily.
Yeah, it's called a lock.
No, it's called a little bit more than a lock, but if you think a lock suffices, that's fine by me.
Frank Green is simply going to go ahead and sit down at he's probably going to sit down at the head of the table and look down to the rest of them, going, "Okay, I've gathered you all here. I don't know why I gathered you all here, but now you're all here. Fantastic."
And Lady Sheridan will take the seat at the other end of the table because she can, and because she doesn't know that the prince is plodding around.
Totally standing behind Green.
Hopper stands off to the side. He's not a real boy. He doesn't get to sit down.
Oh.
He'll kind of half sit on, like, there's probably some kind of coffee making stand kind of a thing.
Rick will take the seat closest to the door. And he will have, by this point, cleaned off most of the paint and such, and straightened his coat and fixed his hair, and looks presentable again.
Rose is she's gonna stand. She's not gonna sit down. She's gonna stand near the window, just looking out.
Alex will take his hat and coat off and put it on the nearest flat surface he can reach.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Frank Green goes ahead and starts by saying, "Yes, thank you again for coming to this little gathering. It's a bit awkward here. I'm not really the keeper of the Elysium. That's Mr. Peck's job, but apparently Mr. Peck is busy with other affairs. We must look into him and see how he is doing one of these nights. But in any case, good job to everybody who came out and helped me with my little posse." We went ahead and looked over the crime scene. We found a few bits and pieces. Not a lot, but we're building up a portfolio. We're building up a case to help us for next time. Because I presume there will be a next time.
I'm thinking so.
It does seem likely. At least if we can't find those responsible.
Could you Please, for those of us who unfortunately were not able to come along, give a small synopsis. Would you like tell what happens?
If you want. Fine.
Well,
And Lady
I'm
Sheridan, I
interested.
must introduce you to Ventru Tower at some point or another. Their conference rooms are fantastic. Alright, begin with, we know little to nothing about what happened to this particular individual. He says as he goes ahead and starts to fiddle around with some notes himself. What was his name? What was his name? Right. We identified the victim as Dennis McFarlane. Is that right?
Farland.
Farlane. Gotcha. Dennis McFarlane happens to be our victim. About that night, he happened to be driving his route for Roman's transport and trucking. This particular route goes ahead and comes from outside the city into the city to a particular distribution center in Manhattan, if I have my notes right. For one reason or another, he went ahead and made a stop. Presumably, this was a stop because of the Franklin Tunnel. His particular truck was a little bit too tall for the tunnel, and he was trying to possibly make arrangements for another vehicle or some other mode of transportation that could take him the final leg of his particular route. He went ahead and stopped he went ahead and actually parked himself in front of another corporation called Sam's Warehouse. He did so. He got out of his truck. He locked his truck, and he walked to the nearest restaurant that he could find, a Mi Horta Casienda. Did I got that right?
Casita.
Right.
The Horta
Casita.
Casita.
Mm-hmm. Mi Horta Casita. And apparently it was a Mexican restaurant ran by actual Mexicans, if you can believe that. Family place. Family place. He had a drink or two, didn't have much of a heavy meal, didn't leave much of a tip, didn't leave much of an impression as he went ahead and left that particular establishment. Between that restaurant and the park, apparently Dennis was captured, had himself shaved, was killed, had blood plastered across his face, and then was tied to a tree within the park next to the Lincoln Tunnel. Now, what we found at the scene paints not much of a picture. We found at the scene, again, the rope that was used to secure him to the tree. It had a particular bleach smell to it. And using the bleach smell, as well as several powers of the blood, we were able to actually recover a bleach bottle that was presumably used in the scene. Now, the manner that we found this bleach bottle was particularly disturbing.
Best left unsaid.
No, it is best said.
Oh, okay.
In a back alley, almost next to the park, we found ourselves with a decaying body. Homeless, derelict, seemed to have been sitting there for quite a while, a dead man who had been left on the streets. We found the bleach bottle lodged inside the chest of this second victim that was not found by the police. The meaning of the bleach bottle? Unknown. But we do have it well within our custody. That is what I have been able to at least gather my notes as of this moment.
Do we have anyone with skill and auspex who could touch the bottle.
Mr. Peck.
Miss Peck isn't answering his phone.
Do we know anyone else?
If you have it here, I could give it a try. Maybe Mr. Grayson?
Miss
What's so funny,
Rose,
Mr.
I can make the evidence available to you at your earliest convenience, but I did not bring it with me.
Very well. If you want me to have a look at it, please just bring it by the university and let me know that you're coming, so I will make sure that I'm there. If you find someone, and I'm pretty sure that you can, who is far better equipped with this kind of situations, please go ahead.
I'll make the effort to go ahead and come by. In any case, that's what my notes are currently telling me at the moment. If anybody would like to openly talk about different threads of this case, go ahead and do so.
You outlined it very well.
I believe I've made every effort so far to keep you informed of my progress, and I'm pretty sure you included most of this, well, everything that we've discovered so far.
It's always nice to see that my notes are always so complete and so concise. But again, this is an ongoing investigation. I would like to hear more talk, more leads, more ideas, more theories. I can only tell you the facts as I see them.
The obvious problem, the obvious suspect for this is the spat. This
Or one of
we
our own.
can. Well, given its placement, given the public nature of it, it seems to be a message. And I was alerted to a message in the Times which may be unrelated, but which the journalist seemed to feel was connected. Again, as I said, I am not entirely certain if it was related, but it said the artist begins with a blank canvas.
Might explain the bleach.
And if we are looking for an artist, it seems as far as we know, it is not Mr. Peck that we are investigating here. The suspicion then falls upon Toreador of less upstanding natures.
Let's
Interesting.
not assume that this message is literal. It could entirely be figurative.
Of course. I'm just saying that if we need to speculate, because the facts have only taken us so far, to look for ideas as to where we might next attempt to find some information, it does seem likely that the culprits are Sabat.
Well, what I'm saying is, let me put it this way. In your instance, where the message is literal, it seems most likely that it is a Sabat. The public nature of the event, the fact that it's just outside or within our own feeding areas, it's an obvious breach of the masquerade, etc.
It is a deliberate breach of the masquerade.
Right. Or a consequential one. if the message is bigger, there might be an entirely different motivation behind the event. One might involve ourselves, but which is a threat to us nonetheless.
Interesting, interesting. Lady Sheridan, again, remind me, why do we, why is one of our suspects a Sabbat? Is it because the exsanguination? Is it because the obvious breach? Is it just because it's outside of our borders?
Well, the exsanguination suggests the likelihood of it being a kindred of some variety, especially with the lack of wounds and the presence of blood in the mouth. If it was not an attempted embrace, it could very well be an attempt to keep the individual alive for longer for whatever it was that they intended to do. Either way, the matter remains that the evidence so far seems to suggest kindred rather than, say, werewolves.
Kindred rather than werewolves, rather than a number of other different things, and rather
Precisely.
not, well, definitely not aliens.
We can be fairly certain of that. So,
I
the
talked to a
suspect...
few aliens, and they don't seem to want to drink blood, so that's kind of awkward.
Yes. Well, so...
He's looking at you with dead serious, as if he meant every single word. He's just like, yeah, I met a few aliens.
Yep. and her response is still, yes. Well, seeing as it's almost certainly, although not necessarily, of course, a member of the kindred, seeing as it is not an accidental breach of the masquerade, but a deliberate one, we can come to the conclusion that it is significantly less likely to be a member of the Camarilla than a member of another sect.
Well,
or an independent.
True.
All right.
Then,
Let's basically say, if it is basically a breach of the masquerade, it is done by a vampire who has a beef with the masquerade.
Not
Which, as
necessarily. What we can say for certain is that they don't care about the masquerade. Might be an intentional masquerade breach, or it might be a consequential masquerade breach. What we can learn from this is they don't care. They aren't followers of the masquerade.
right. So it is possible, I suppose, that as a compulsion of their need to express their art, they needed a audience, and that they didn't find that the masquerade was sufficient reason to avoid an audience. Either way, we need to get to the bottom of this, and it seems a kindred is the likely suspect. And that a kindred that is not Camarilla is significantly more likely than one who is.
This is true. The idea that it is definitely a kindred is the most prominent idea that we currently have. It is unfortunate that we weren't able to gain possession of the body, but on such short notice, what can we probably expect? If we had gathered the body, we could confirm for a fact the exsanguination was done via our own means, via the kiss and licking the wound afterwards. In either case, still have to approach it from the exact same angle. We still have to continue our investigation, And at the moment, we have very, very few leads that we can actually work on. At the moment, this is a waiting game.
I would suspect it is likely that the individual was chosen for convenience rather than for who they are, but we can still look into his background in case he was chosen specifically.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, I suggest someone with skills in that particular area might want to look into the motels, hotels, places of lodging nearby where a person may find safety from the day.
So we might be looking for a kindred that goes ahead and hides himself in the bathroom during the day. That's fantastic.
In the meanwhile, Rose is actually she is grabbing into her clothing, and she's just getting out a crayon, and she's looking at the table, scribbling a little bit on the table, see if she can wipe it out rather easily. She's like, yeah, that will work. And she's gonna make two lists, and on top of the first list she writes supernatural, and on top of the other list she writes ordinary. So, supernatural clues that we have at this point.
Bleach.
Bleach, that is 100% certain?
What do you mean is 100% certain? I think that we can ascertain quite a lot from the bleach bottle. In fact, if we have somebody skilled in aspects, or apparently you have a particular discipline that allows you to mimic it, we can go ahead and possibly ascertain the identity of the person who owned it or used it.
So she's writing with at the non-supernatural list, she's writing bleach, rope. At natural part she writes speed. Anything else?
Oh yes, I forgot about the speed. That is another indication of a kindred involvement. Actually, Lady Sheridan. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't actually know quite a lot about any of the particular workings of the Sabbat, but work me on this one. We have a body that is being presented, that is being artistically presented, would you say?
I haven't seen what it looked like when it was initially done, but given the message, I'd assume so.
Right. The particular cruelty and the lack of adherence to the masquerade does lead itself to a certain sect, but the way it was presented
Leads itself to a certain clan. Now, obviously, there are members of other clans that have interest in the arts, as I'm sure you know from your own Primogen, but it does, as I said, suggest the corridor of this bat persuasion.
That's true.
I
I
wouldn't
must have
make
missed
that
that particular part of the
suggestion.
conversation.
Obviously, we can't come to the conclusion that it is, because as I said, there are other members of other clans that might be just as interested in the arts. But if we were to have to make a supposition, a guess at what we might expect the killer to be, that is the supposition that I would make.
Right.
Well, no, you could also look at this from a different angle. Because bleach indicates that you want to clean things. And and I hope I'm not offending you by this, Mr. Grayson, but have you been thinking in the lines of a Malkavian? They
It
are
is a
usually
possibility.
they usually have a flair for the arts as well. They, if I'm looking at compulsive behavior, bleach would be an indication,
Not
and the loss of hair
necessarily.
and the rope could be a kind of occult ritual thing.
Again, you're jumping to the occult, not looking at the mundane. It's called Occam's razor. I'm going to use it right now. And if you had found the disgusting site that we entered, you would not assume that this man was particularly obsessed with bleaching things.
He
Like
did
I said, I
say
just go on a limb here.
if the message is indeed from the killer, that the artist begins with a blank canvas. So the bleach may be related to the idea of cleansing the canvas prior to the art taking place.
True. Here's a question that we can ask ourselves. We have this scene before us. If there is another killing, what can we look forward to?
As a guess and a hypothesis, or anything that might be more solid?
Right now, we only have guess. We only have theories. As far as solid things, well, I'm just going to look at the trucker for the moment and look at his particular trucking schedule. The next
Yes.
stop he had before that particular Lincoln Tunnel happened to be a distribution center well within our neck of the woods. We should probably have that place under observation for the moment.
A question. It must have slipped. I mean, you must have told me, but what happened to his transportation?
We found it. We found it at
Of
the
course.
back of the restaurant.
Good evening. Sorry I'm late to your little meeting.
You're doing that right behind Frank Green, aren't you?
Oh, of course.
Frank Green will simply go ahead, stand up, not turning his back. He'll go ahead, stand up, leave his seat open, and take the next one over.
Hopper's gonna jump, but he'll recover really quickly as if, like, yeah, this happens for like 10 times a night. Including when they're sitting on a couch together watching TV. Poof! I'm sitting by myself. Ah!
I'm just training him. Honestly, I'm just training him for all future CAM meetings.
So glad you could join us, Mr. Silas.
A pleasure. Please don't let me interrupt the current discussions. Shall we continue? I understand that we're talking about several means, and I do also have a few other side things to bring up while we're here.
Of course, I originally planned this to be a more social gathering, but business came up, so we were currently dealing with that. Mr. Silas, my prince, if you have anything to bring to the table at the moment, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Have any of you visited this new circus that's been going around?
Not as of yet.
Really? I've received a message from their ringmaster a short while ago, requesting, the Pacifics.
The Pacifics, as if he contacted you directly. Okay.
I do have my side contacts, which are a bit of a chain, but people can send a message through if they're knowing to ask the right questions to the right people.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Now, I've learned a few things about this particular circus when they first came into town, simply due to curiosity, and my influence happens to be well within that area. It's called the Full Moon Circus, right? Is that the one we're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the Red Wheel Circus.
That's a different circus altogether. Please proceed.
Well, the Red Wheel Circus sent me a small message, rather short, that they wish to make their existence present for me, and that they give their most gracious salutations, and they wish to make their presence known to me, essentially, as the Prince of New York, the standard. I don't know too many specifics, but I put a little bit of the web out. They have an okay reputation.
Okay. What kind of reputation do they have, then?
Well, they run a circus. They keep fairly close to it. They semi-skirt the boundaries of the masquerade, since they disguise some of their more specialized techniques within the act of a circus. Which I don't really agree with. I don't really like people using disciplines in plain sight, but they're in plain sight and also potentially a very good cover, if they're well prepared for questions. And as an existing circus for quite some time, including one that has gone across several cities, they must be doing something right.
Munich, Vienna, Montreal, Mexico, Los Angeles?
Mm-hmm.
And we're probably talking about the same circus, just different names.
On the matter of new people to the city, I should also mention that there is a new Malkavian and a new Ventru in the city. We met them the other night, she says with a nod towards Frank Green.
Mm-hmm. One other name to add to that particular list, apparently I had a brief conversation with a Toreador. I'll have to check my notes about what she's currently doing, but she apparently was in the performing arts. Actually, a lion tamer, should you want to believe it or not.
Lady Shadow's going to raise an eyebrow at that mention of a Toreador, given her speculation earlier.
But like I said, about the circus, before we get distracted, their leader, their ringmasters, Eisen Panassus. I'm going to want one of you to have a little bit of a side meeting with that individual before they're brought to me. And that should be an interesting discussion. It's going to be a simple side discussion. Why are you here? You planning to stick around here for a while? Got any aims while you're here? After that, I'm quite happy to have a one-on-one discussion. As for these other new arrivals, well, you all know the rules. I'm happy for them to stick around for a while if they meet Green's safety specifics for everyone concerned. But if they plan to stick around for longer than a month, they're going to have a meeting with me.
If you
Doable.
need, at any moment, if you need my talents, please let me know.
Always happy to have you around, Rose. I hope you enjoyed your holiday and time around the city.
It's nice to get to know the city a little bit more.
Excellent.
But yeah, the surroundings, not really my thing, I think.
Good. Have you found a site location for your personal belongings yet, or do you wish to remain with the library?
Well, the library is now, I think, 1/3, and it still needs to be restored a little more, but it's almost finished. I'm planning to look to secure my personal belongings a little extra, but I do plan to stay close to it, to say the least. But I tend to use the university often, and I have another place that I have taken up. But thank you for
Good.
your interest.
Excellent. Hopper, anything to report?
Sorry, technical problems there for a second. So much this evening. Present company. He smiles to them all as he's like, I might have done the same. I'm not saying for you, fucker.
Good.
Training.
Now, we all know the specifics of some of these. Well, this recent murder that has us all concerned. We all know the specifics of some of these new arrivals, which I'm happy you've all really dived onto. If you could pass on to those questions, that if they have their letters of reference ready, it would make their transitions rather helpful.
Yep. Bring your letters. Makes everything easier.
You did have a letter, didn't you?
A letter from whom?
Out of character, I'm sure someone gave you a letter and you pinched it.
You might want to check your pockets.
The letter for the Ventru?
Oh, no, sorry. No, I was getting mistaken with something else. It was I knew it was you, but it was something else.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry.
I'll check my pockets and I'll find the keys to like a silica somewhere, and I'll just look to Mr. Silas saying, "You think my ride's bad?" Me. He goes ahead and corrects himself. Me, the circus artist. But I think she moved on, unfortunately.
Not quite.
And Lady Sheridan will, however, pull out a business card that looks remarkably similar to her business cards, except that it is white with black writing rather than black with red writing. And she will slide it across the table, and it will have the new Ventru's contact details. He didn't have business cards last night.
I'm sorry, my sound is momentarily broken on this hangout. I would like to refresh. I will be back momentarily.
The prince judges you all in cold silence.
As he should.
My sound is now working again in this hangout. Please continue.
Yay!
I sent a business card with the new Ventru's contact details across the table to you.
Excellent. I'd like to have a. What is your opinion on this individual so far, since you've obviously already met them?
He seems to be relatively well behaved and well composed, but somewhat uneducated so far. I believe that he knows the essentials, but having been sent here so young and with so little advice on how to proceed upon arriving, it seems concerning regarding his sire. And what her opinion of him might be.
I see. Do you know the name of the sire? Might I get in contact with them?
Out of character, I think. No, I did. He did tell me, and he told me his whole lineage, but we kind of went with he just told me his whole lineage.
Okay, basically you have the name, but you have no idea who that name is.
Yeah.
It could be somebody in Timbuktu for you know, but it's a name.
Actually, Rio.
Rio. Fortunately, happen to be of the Nosferatu clan. Even if it's a random kindred in Rio, I could probably find out about them. Kiss my 4 dots and clan influence.
Yay!
As for the new member of my own clan, I met with her earlier tonight. She's also new.
New as in new to the blood, or new as in new to the city? Please define.
Both.
The answer would be yes.
Yeah, that's kind of the air I got from her.
She seems genuine, but when she comes to see you, keep an eye on your things.
Trust me, I've had meetings with her about this.
At any rate, I instructed her to get in touch with you as soon as possible. I also gave her some other good advice.
Good, good. Now, one matter I wanted to discuss in this meeting is, well, I need one of my little old positions sorted out rather sooner than later. I used to hold the position of warden. Now, Mr. Green has his hands full enough dealing with all the various activities going on, especially with this latest batch of murders. A warden and a sheriff work hand in hand with each other. Divide the workload somewhat, but also make sure that each one has their specific specialities of who to deal with. Now, I have my own ideas for wardenship to the others, but I want to know what your opinions are amongst you of who the next warden should be. Let's start with Miss Lady Sheridan.
Well, perhaps if you could elucidate a little more on quite what you would hope a warden to achieve.
I want a warden to have a meeting alongside with me, with the current alpha of the werewolves of Central Park. I want a warden to be able to regularly meet with the strangeness of the fairies, as difficult they are to keep a track of. Repetitive meetings tend to be helpful in getting to know which individuals are in fact these creatures. I want a warden to have a meeting with the mages. I can give them the contact details, and they can come to arrangements to make sure that we do not come to blows with their kind.
I see. Have you perhaps considered a specialist for each of these? Someone who can relate more to the werewolves and someone who can relate more to the mages. I believe Mr. Dales commented that he was interested in the occult, and that might be a direction that he would put his interests.
Well, I personally was able to handle these responsibilities solo. The idea of individuals for each one is not a bad one. I would still wish an individual to be in charge of these specialists.
Yes, of course, someone to gather the various knowledges together and ensure that the right person is given the right job, I assume.
Yes.
Well, given the person will also be important, but I believe the setting will also be important, would your penthouse bar still be available to meet with these guests of ours?
Of course, I believe I specifically designed the venue to be used for such meetings.
Very good. Very good. Um, well, I do say that I could definitely meet with a mage on neutral ground if need be. I'm not sure I have much in common with the werewolves, but I wouldn't be objected to a chat or two.
I think
Chat, if you're willing to take these responsibilities, there's also the willingness to help them, to become their ally, to become their best friend, to become their point of contact, to become all sorts of things in order to, how to put, cater for these other special groups. If we are at war,
think
it will be specific things, but we're in a rather intermediate period, and it's not just about being on an aggressive front or passive front. It's being on a front where they are willing to come to you.
I think
Mr.
perhaps, as I said, it might be best to have individuals who can focus on the needs of the individual groups, but as you said, someone to organise them and to be their touchstone in turn, so that the various groups will turn to the representative to that group. In this example, the mages to Mr. Dales here, and then Mr. Dales would then turn to the warden in charge or responsible for assignments.
By all means, I'm quite willing to help things such as warden to the mages, warden to the wolves. But I'm just trying to say for this meeting, for all the people I had considered for wardenship are currently here.
May I make a suggestion, Mr. Silas?
Of course, Rose.
Well, the way I look at it, it's rather simple. I would not suggest a warden for each different group of supernaturals, because in the end you would face a logistic nightmare to get all the information exactly right at the same location. Only one
Story
word
of my
needs to be
life.
spoken wrong, and you can have a potential threat instead of a completely political safe situation.
Did I
I think
mention
the
story
person in
of my life?
question, I think the person in question should have diplomatic skills, needs to be able to keep his cool, and needs to stand open for anything. I think have a very wide imagination.
Perhaps advisors then, rather than wardens to each of the specific things.
Specific
Your advice is well.
advisors and lore masters. I think we should go ahead and see if there's any individuals that already have this knowledge that can help us with it. But
Or at the very least, I know individuals I can call upon the right books and bits and pieces they can study.
Excellent.
hmm so we can have advisors, we can have lore smiths or lore masters, but the warden of this city is, as Rose, says, somebody that's diplomatic, somebody that can present a happy face, somebody that's going to go ahead and fill all the requirements set up by Mr. Silas. That being, you will now be a friend to these people, and you will be their touchdown. They will want to come to you. That's a very hard face to present to all of these different groups of people who could possibly rip you limb for limb simply by you looking at them.
And a very diverse person at that. Because indeed, as Mr. Dales already pointed out, meeting with mages is quite different than meeting with a werewolf, a demon, or a fae.
Or aliens.
Like I said, I managed this for quite some time. I'm sure there has to be somebody that can step forth. or be presented.
Well, the simple question, as you already mentioned, that every candidate is here in this room, I think would be to look at who has already had contact with groups and how did that pass well?
Rose, you're rapidly catching on to my game. In which case,
My apologies,
while
Mr.
I
Simon.
go, no, by all means, while I go and indulge myself to a cigarette outside, why don't you talk about this matter since you've already caught on? And we'll see what happens when I get back.
Very well. Rose is just looking around. Well, as Mr. Silas already pointed out, looking at different kinds of supernaturals. Who has had former experience with the others of New
Frank
York?
Green goes ahead and raises his hand.
Indeed, if it were not for the fact that Mr. Silas mentioned that Frank was too busy as sheriff to take the position, he would be the prime candidate.
Responsibility dodged.
Please, Mr. Green, would you be as kind as to tell us which supernaturals and maybe what your experience were? And not too long, I think. I mean, the final warden would have a larger talk with you, I think, but for now, a summary would be best.
Apparently there are a few people in the park that have had border disputes with my clan before. We've had to go ahead and set aside certain claims in order to continue inhabiting the same living environment.
Interesting. And those negotiations went well, I presume?
I'm still walking, my primogen is still walking, and apparently whoever this shape changer was didn't bring out their own claws and didn't tear us apart. So overall, pretty well. I mean, we still get to walk around in our same living space without nary ado.
Very well. Well, anyone else? Or did you have any other supernaturals at your doorstep?
Actually, once or twice before, it was a few months ago. Apparently, there were giants, is no way I'm going to be able to describe it, within one of the parks that proceeded to attack. And I was following Mulcavian at that time, so I knew this was a stupid idea. But I went ahead and followed him, and these beasts came out of the woodwork. Shape changers, giants, Amazonian plants that proceeded to eat people. Oh my god. I mainly shot at them and ran away.
I can imagine such a experience being quite interesting. Well, thank you very much. Well, Lady Sheridan, have you had any contact with any of the supernaturals in New York?
Not as yet. I thought rather to cement myself among my own kind. But the interesting question that I think we might choose to raise is, as the prince said, the warden will be working quite closely with the sheriff. So my question is, who does Mr. Green think would be a good candidate, and what does he think that the candidate would need?
That would be a very interesting question, but maybe we should first continue with Mr. Grayson.
Of course.
For him to not be able to speak his mind. Mr. Grayson, did you have any prior contact with any of the others in New York?
Silas wanted me to meet with. He looks over. Actually, is Silas back in the room?
Let me roll the dice for 50-50. You either see him or you don't. 1 to 5, you don't. 6 to 10, I came in obfuscated. 10, I came back in obfuscated.
I will point out now revealed himself in the room when he settled back down. He hasn't changed his body language. It's almost like he always expects he might be there. So it's like he doesn't put any pretenses whether he's there or not.
Please, Mr. Grayson, continue.
You'd mentioned that he wanted me to meet with Faye, I think it was. Anyway, I never got to move forward with that, so I don't know what contact you might have wanted me to meet with. I did meet someone, though. I'm not sure, well, what he was.
Just can't quite remember, right? It's just like you kind of think there was a person there, and you kind of think you had a long conversation with them, but it's not. You're just not able to bring it up. It's all more of a dream. It's like when you wake up from the day's sleep. Sometimes you do have dreams and nightmares. We kindred do. But you can't quite remember all of it. You remember certain things about it if you focus really, really hard, and if you had that dream more than once. Right?
Crap.
Rick just sort of looks over at Frank with a raised brow and just slowly shakes his head like he has no idea what you're talking about.
Aliens.
Well, that might have been Faye indeed. Well, it's interesting. Anyway, Mr. Dales, to conclude with you, as you've been least long in the city of our group here, any contact with others? Mr.
Hello?
Dales?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have been wanting to meet other kindred or other supernaturals in the city, but I have not been at the bar when I have had a chance to meet any of them. So I've
Gotcha.
not. But this brings up an interesting question. How many have you met, Rose?
Oh. Let's see. What do you mean, as in persons or as in different kinds?
Let's go with different kinds for right now, and if we get really interested, we'll talk about the persons.
Let's see. I've only met two different kinds.
What types?
I have met with a group of Fae and people from the Bronx, which are quite unique.
Ah. I take it you were able to remember your time with the Fae a little better than other people?
Maybe, I don't know. It depends on what the other people remember. And I don't think this is hardly the place to go about that now.
True. So,
I would like to go back to the question that Lady Sheridan raised earlier, as the warden, as Mr. Sidus pointed out, has to work close to Mr. Green. I think it would only be fair if he at least would be able to give his preference. If he has one, that is. Mr. Green?
Mr. Green. He has in his mind a few different people. He really does. Mr. Green has two preferences, two candidates that he would put forth. And out of the 1, 2, 3, 4 of you eligible, there are 2 of you that I would take and work with closely with that particular position.
Well, I would say break the ice.
Well, I would work with you, Rose, because you have been in the city longest. You have gathered the attention of several other supernaturals. They seem to be very, very interested with you. And you do have a demeanor that is pleasant to behold. However, I also look to the new talent in the city, that of Lady Sheridan. She seems to be very, very diplomatic, very, very by the book, very, very businesslike, very accompanying, and the like. I think that if we presented her face to the other supernaturals, she would at least paint us in the best light possible.
Well, anyone else wants to make a suggestion for a suitable candidate? No? No one?
Mr. Dales, what are your thoughts on the matter?
Well, honestly, anyone who becomes warden, if not myself, I'm going to make a point of being a very good friend of theirs, because I not only have a great interest in my own condition, but the other conditions of the creatures of New York. So I seem to have hit it up with Rose, but I also enjoy your company, Lady Sheridan.
And your opinion, Mr. Grayson? Have you any thoughts on the matter?
Rick will look over to Lady Sheridan and Rose and Frank and Silas. This warden position sounds very involved, very potentially dangerous for the warden, him or herself. As Lady Sheridan has already assumed some responsibility lately, I think it would be imprudent to heap this responsibility onto her as well. It would put her in danger, and therefore puts one of our other positions, which has already been claimed, in danger. If she died, we would lose a warden and a Ventrue Primogen. That said, Mr. Dale seems very interested. Why not allow him to have the position?
It's an interesting way of looking at things, and you are quite right. As we have seen before with certain individuals who are now no longer amongst us, and Rose is just going to glance towards the corner. It can be a heavy loss if a kindred dies who is more than one function within our particular sects. However, I'm interested at Lady Sheridan's meaning before I speak my own.
My meaning in what particularly?
Sorry, I meant opinion. Switch. Dutch English.
That's okay.
Opinion.
Well, I should of course take the responsibility quite seriously, should it fall to me. But at the same time, as Mr. Green has pointed out, Rose would be interesting for the other, for our metaphysical neighbours to deal with. Mr. Dales, as Mr. Grayson mentioned, does seem very interested, but I think perhaps the position of an assistant or researcher might be more suited to him. As has been discussed, political skill is somewhat necessary to the position.
So your suggestion would be?
My suggestion would be much the same as our dear sheriff's. One of the pair of us, backed up by Mr. Dales. Of course, I do not mean to belittle your own possible contribution, Mr. Grayson, but does not seem that you have a particular interest in the position, and as much as I am sure that the Malkavians can always offer interesting insight, I'm not sure how much you might or might not know about the other types of creature.
No offense taken. So the question is, I suppose, which of the three of you wants this position?
Well, I have yet to give my opinion on this matter. If you're interested, of course, I can quite understand that we've heard enough opinions and the matter seems to be quite
Of
solid
course,
already.
we would like your opinion, Rose.
I would personally indeed recommend Mr. Dales as being an assistant to the job, as he already mentioned that he is a fledgling, I believe, if I'm correct, and still has lots to learn.
Neonate.
A neonate. I'm deeply sorry. My apologies.
It's all right. I have not been around very long.
Then that must have been the mistake that I made.
Sorry, that was a rather long cigar. I shouldn't have left you so long.
Oh,
How things progressed?
well, I think we're almost. I think the group here almost has made their choice, and then it's of course
Excellent.
up to you.
Well, don't let me interrupt you. Please carry on.
We have
very much.
narrowed it to two possibilities and one recommendation of assistant.
Yes.
We all agreed that Mr. Dales here would make an excellent assistant to the warden, and the majority of us agree that Rose and myself are the quite likely the best candidates for the warden position in working closely with the sheriff.
Well, as I was still trying to tell, is that I do not agree upon myself as being a good warden. I am not very diplomatic, and my appearance could scare others off. I'm well aware of that. I would suggest either Lady Sheridan and or Mr. Grayson, as he already has been set to a task of meeting with certain individuals.
Between Mr. Grayson and Miss Sheridan. I'm sorry, Green, did I interrupt you?
Pretty much. He goes ahead and calls a little bit, saying, again, we want to divide up the responsibilities. We have Lady Sheridan over there, because I'm going to go ahead and take this one to heart. It's been a while since we've had a proper Ventru Primogen, and I do not want that particular position to be in jeopardy again. Jan hasn't been here for a while. He's been an agent of the Camarilla over in another city, and I do not see him returning anytime soon.
Well, the suggestion that I was going to make is actually either Mr. Dales or Mr. Crazen being trained in the skills of diplomacy by Miss Sheridan. So she could take the lead, and then either one of them could be a suitable next candidate.
If training is required, and it is, I could see that as a possibility. Rick, would you have any objections if, since I pretty much was said to be a good assistant?
You can be a good assistant, but I believe you be a good assistant, as Lady Sheridan says, as a researcher and as an assistant. And I think the biggest library that we currently have is well within Rose's current possession. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you, Rose, know quite a lot more about the other supernatural simply by hint
Well,
of your great knowledge base.
as I do not know what knowledge the others have, I cannot neither confirm nor deny this.
I can confirm that you have quite a great selection of books at your disposal.
Yes, everything from fairy tales to cooking books.
And yet you are one up on us. Besides, the other supernaturals are already well interested in you. In fact, I remember a party with the aliens at which I left alone.
That was a long time ago, Mr. Green. Things change.
All I'm saying is it leads credence to the idea that they are naturally attracted to you, that they will come to you. All that needs to be done is to set a venue up for them to come to you.
By the
Well,
way, Mr. Green, I do have a request. Apparently, some of our less liked extras, you know who they are, know about Rose's whereabouts. If they show their head again in that area, turn it into a zone of death.
I can set up some people to go ahead and watch that area, and should we see any more trouble, there you go.
Excellent.
Well, I think that amongst ourselves we might not find the answer this night, so Mr. Cyrus, you said you also had some interesting perspectives.
My perspectives were related to Lady Sheridan's perspective of dividing things down and having them down an individual leader. I don't know who you wish to choose for an individual leader. I'm interested in that one. As for the other ones, well, I have ideas. Well, I guess
it is quite
in
clear
the
that Rose would be an excellent suggestion for the aliens, as Mr. Green puts it. And we can certainly look to see if any of your clan, Mr. Green, might help with any understanding of the werewolves. Beyond that, I am quite certain that Mr. Silas has many suggestions.
So, do you have concrete placements for me, or shall I start making decisions?
I would suggest the latter, because I don't think we're gonna decide this by ourselves.
Very well. Anybody else?
I've given out my preferences.
We have all mentioned our preferences, but as they are at odds with each other, we need a single voice and decision, which unfortunately
Yes, of
does
course.
require decisions.
In which case, we shall sort these matters out in the pro tempore fashion. In which case, Lady Sheridan, you shall act as a May unifying force amongst the people that shall be elected warden, so you shall hold the unifying warden position. Alex Dales, you shall hold the position of dealing with the lupines, the werewolves, and you shall report to Lady Sheridan. Rick Grayson, you shall hold the position of dealing with the changelings, and you shall report to Lady Sheridan. I shall still remain in the position of dealing with the mages and the other interest groups until such an individual shows themselves suitable. Any objections?
Not at all.
I look forward to working with Lady Sheridan with the coming nights and the coming problems that need to be solved.
I thank you for placing this trust in me.
Alex Dales, you will be required to attend with me a meeting with the werewolf Alpha.
I see. Okay.
Try not to die.
Would you like me to attend as well, or would you be content with Mr. Dales?
And now I will be content with the two of you. The idea of Mr. Dales is to act as their point of contact.
Shall I bring a tarp, sir?
Yes.
Well, Alex,
Until they've managed to reinforce the position by a pro temple, could you please look after these individuals from a distance to make sure, well, you know, they live?
all I'm going to say is, Mr. Alex, I hope you are especially resilient.
Myself, who will be my contact for these changelings?
I have the business card for a Veronica and a Nathan. I can't tell you too much of the specifics due to the fucking nature of these guys. I'm sorry that this goddamn issue with them, they're very hard to keep track of. Keep detailed notes is the best I can tell you.
If you want to, Mr. Grayson, I think I might be able to recollect some memories from, well, what was it? Almost a year ago? I can help you with that.
I'm sure that would be helpful. Did you mean now, or should we meet another time?
I think it's better to meet another time.
Right.
So I'm sure there are other interesting subjects to discuss at this point.
Well, like I said, this was supposed to be a social gathering, but Lady Sheridan over there is like, oh, business.
I can't tell the business going. I got the business out of the way now.
So we're done with business?
Yes.
Oh, thank goodness.
Excellent. Part is closed. And in that case, I'm gonna take my leave because, oh my fucking god, I think I can only sleep for like 2 hours before I have to get up again. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna bail.
Fair enough, Rose. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Fortunately, I have more canned fermented blood in the fridge.
Well, I must drop by someday.
Oh, trust me, I've just hired a brewer for this type of thing. This is totally where it's at. They get the fizz. Have you ever tasted blood with fizz? It's awesome.
Wait. I think I've
Really
actually seen a few of those cups in my travels. Is John something?
It begins with an S. John S.
I'll have to look at that again once I'm out and about away from the city,
Yeah,
because it's not really. It's not domestic enough. It's just foreign.
It's become really popular. I mean, the entire word spread out through the Nosferatu. And if it spread through us, you know it's good stuff.
What can I say? I don't find myself out there anymore. I'm stuck in this city.
I'm looking very forward to trying it. I've always been very interested in different vintages.
Well, I'll give you a bit of good news. All roads lead to New York.
That's true.
Very well. Have a pleasant night. Oh, yes.
Given that I'm about to meet the Pack Alpha, sort of like the head, the werewolves of werewolves.
Bye.
Asshole. I mean, let's see. He said that you've been one of the first kindred I've met in the city, and it was very pleasurable meeting with you.
Very well. I would indeed take up Mr. Green's suggestion and have a long talk with him before you.
I believe I made a bit of an accomplishment that I'm the first person to talk to their previous Alpha and live.
That is quite an accomplishment indeed. Well, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good evening.
Quick, let's all talk behind your back.
I honestly do not have anything negative to say about Miss Rose. She's been a fantastic member of the Camarilla, and in fact at this point I'm willing to cement her temporary status as a Camarilla member into a permanent status as a Camarilla member. In fact, please remind me, as the local hobby, that this is now so.
Fair enough. She is gone from her probationary status.
Even though I haven't given her any official position, she does serve an excellent spot as an advisor. Her place in between places makes this much easier.
You actually took away her probationary sect member when Dr. Softly died.
I did? Fuck.
You did. However,
now I've reinforced it.
Dr. Softly in the room. The other people might not have been made aware of this.
Yeah, now the other people have been made aware.
You made a neonate, and you were like, yeah, totally. So now you're degrading her to fledgling.
No, I'm not degrading her to fledgling. I'm saying that she is an accepted neonate, and that whole probationary sect member, yeah, that's gone.
Someone's out of character. I'm wondering if you've been drinking too much the fuzzy blood.
And I love the fuzzy blood.
Also out of character, I'm wondering the status bonus. Presumably there isn't one for being Primogen as well. It's just
No, they can stack. It's just whether you can have a scene where they do stack.
Okay.
It's being able to make them apply to your specific moments. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah. So.
If you can make somebody, for example, you're intimidating somebody, and you're intimidating somebody, not only am I the fucking Ventru Primogen, I'm the guy that has to deal with the goddamn werewolves. They both apply.
Yep.
Yeah, you can be status 1 and be the Primogen, because your status should be a 3 if you're a Primogen. However, New York has a high turnover rate.
It does.
Before, you know.
No, I just thought that that I would ask on that one.
Yeah. It's a matter of making them apply to the scene. So, for example, if I had some fucking neonate come up to me and start giving me shit, I'm quite allowed to go and stack. I'm the fucking prince of the city. I'm also the warden of the city. I am also the fucking Primogen of the Nosferatu. Do you want to fuck with me? And I can stack all those statuses, bonuses together to give me bonus dice on saying, I have 20 dice to intimidate at difficulty 4. Fuck you.
Are we actually using the status rules to give you bonus dice in New York?
I believe that's what we were originally doing if you spend 1 point of willpower. I don't know if we had anything else attached to it.
Yeah. I know we do it in other games, but I'm not sure about New York.
It was
Okay.
all, I believe it was all describing things and making sure they actually apply to how you're using them.
Okay.
So the
that's
majority
the
of
status.
the majority of outside people aren't going to appreciate your. If they're not Camarilla, they're likely not going to appreciate it unless you're really good at your description. So even a Sabbat person is going to be able to say, I'm the. If you say to a Sabbat person, I'm the fucking warden. I deal with fairies, demons, and werewolves on a daily basis. Fuck you. You might be able to scrape your bonus purely for the sake that you deal with much scarier shit than they do.
But yes, so status covered. Back to in character, I'm guessing.
Now, what I was saying in the side is that if you are Sheridan, you're acting as the actual warden, so your status 2, and the people that are acting as secondary wardens to specific groups are getting the bonus of status 1.
Well, status 3 because she's a neonate to begin with. But yes.
Yeah. Well, you can combo them together. This also has the added bonus that when you deal with the elders of your clan, that you can combo these together to get extra respect.
Yep.
Because, the Ventry will actually care and say, not only are you neonate, but you're ranked neonate with respect in New York of all fucking places.
That hell pit.
The place where all other elders flee from.
The place where we have defectors and sabbats. And we don't even control Central Park. Don't go to Central Park. Don't ever go to Central Park.
But yes. So, is there anything else we want to cover in character, or have we basically gone off on and out of character stuff and should
No,
probably...
that is the out of character stuff done. If you would like to go back to in character discussion, please do. I'm going to smoke a cigarette. I'll be right back.
Mm. Like I said, let's talk behind her back. Rose, that is, not the prince. Because the prince is probably still here.
So, what led to your choice of, meeting place?
Led to the choice of the meeting place. Well, that particular gathering, I didn't want to call it Elysium, simply because I didn't want to confuse people. Because I am not the keeper of Elysium. Apparently the keeper, for whatever reason, didn't contact me to tell me where the Elysium was being held, so I just decided to make up one for myself. Now, as far as the rave, well, it's what I had on call at the moment. It was a place to go ahead and gather some kindred who were actually willing to meet, and then bring them to a much more secure location. It's what's his face, yeah, that's the way Dr. Softly did it. Although he was much more clever. He had tunnels.
It seems like a sensible way to arrange things.
Yeah, it's relatively low effort. I mean, you simply go ahead and set up a place, make that the public meeting point. If anybody decides to intercept the message, well, guess what? They're attacking something that isn't really real. Because most of the people have already moved on to the actual Elysium.
Which explains why you asked us to leave ahead of you.
Pretty much. If there was going to be a problem, I wanted to keep all of you far away from any kind of crisis that might have occurred.
Very brave of you.
Rick will sort of cut a glance over at Alex as Frank is saying this.
I said sorry. I did not get a detailed list on what was going on.
Well, next time be a little bit more subtle, okay?
Okay, subtle. Of course, dog catcher.
There you go. Okay, from now on, my code name is Dog Catcher, people.
And
I
I
can think
think
of better ones.
I was going to say after yesterday, I think Lady Sheridan's code name should be Ice.
No, let's call her Bleach.
She's just going to raise an eyebrow at both those suggestions. Diamond.
Well, I popped out of nowhere and you didn't even flick an eyebrow.
S.
I mean, Hopper here, he gets scared 5 times a day and he still makes motions.
Yes, and how exactly would a great display of fear help the situation?
I'm not saying it helps the situation. I just saying you don't display the usual fear reflexes. Usually they're not.
As I said, my suggestion is diamond. Forged by heat and pressure.
Diamond.
For
Okay.
a knife.
Fair enough. Diamonds are forever. I could call you a diamond. I unfortunately don't collect diamonds, so no, there you go.
Apparently we are choosing code names. Did Mr. Silas return visible or invisible?
I know I return visible this time.
Apparently
Okay.
we are selecting code names.
Oh, by the way, Sheriff, I've got a meeting for you to attend with me with soon.
Alright, fair enough, fair enough.
It's
Go
not going
ahead
to be
and-
fun.
I was afraid of that, but if that's what needs to be done, then it needs to be done. Go ahead and grab me at your earlier convenience.
Excellent. I'll go over the specifics before we actually do the meeting itself. You'll be fully briefed.
Sounds wonderful.
Apparently,
Unfortunately, Robbie is not online, so we can not bounce and do that meeting right now. So, next time.
Next time.
apparently the sheriff is to be referred to as the dog catcher.
Sheriff, do you object to that?
Nope.
He suggested it.
It works for me.
Mhm.
Just trying to tell people to just be a little bit more subtle with the way they approach things. The masquerade is your shield, people.
I completely agree.
Mr. Grayson, I think code name should be The Book. A little on the nose, but I think you'd enjoy it.
Doesn't that make it in the newspaper?
I've never heard the newspaper referred to as The Book.
No, as in a little bit on the nose.
Yeah. Call them the newspaper. Call them the Times. Call them World Geographic for all I care.
Nice, interesting code.
Have you any suggestions for yourself, Mr. Silas?
What do you mean? Suggestions for what?
Well, as we seem to be coming up with code names.
I prefer if you people stopped using my name all over the place. Like, seriously, stop using my name. I'm looking at you, Mr. Dales.
Mr. S. Did I tell someone about you that I shouldn't have?
You say the full name a little bit too often. Ed, seriously, if you're going to use my name, use it in freaking emergencies.
Okay.
So have you a suggestion?
Suggestion?
For a code name or replacement name?
What, for myself? I adopt a new name every couple of years. I'll let you know. I'm coming up. In fact, it's only another couple of months, a few months before I switch. So make yourself ready for that. I'll keep you guys in the Pacifics.
It's gonna make meetings a lot more awkward. Oh well.
I know, but it's standard practice.
Yeah, I enjoyed being Mr. White for a while. Mr. White was an old white guy.
Oh, I like Mr. White. He had an awesome history to him. It's a shame he had to retire him.
What?
It was kind of required at the time, though.
Hmm.
And I wasn't even there. This is just what I'm getting reported to me. I mean,
Frank Green
no
is looking at you with awesomely dead eyes, just that Ray's expression. Like,
I mean, like, the whole zebra? Really? The entire zebra?
How much of it we can really see is somewhat limited by the glasses, I'm guessing.
yeah, you just see Frank Green go ahead and stop mid-sentence looking at Silas like, oh my god, how did he do that? Don't tell Elena.
Yes, speaking about the newbies, actually, how are the newbies doing?
Something I should make clear to a certain gentleman with a mirror. Apparently Dr. Sopley's ghost is still there.
Yep.
Apparently the new ones are getting along, particularly in my clan. Oh my god, they're so sweet, they're so adorable, it just makes you want to eat them and then go into a diabetic coma.
Well, Dale so far? I'm sorry, Dale's you've got a bit of work to do.
Hmm. And I do agree with Frank. She is rather sweet, but she has hidden depths to her.
Gregory's just gonna go ahead and eye you. Much like the same stare he gave you at the last Elysium.
I don't meet her regularly. I just met her once. Ugh. You tell someone a story and their sire never forgives you.
Oh, that's the problem with sires. They don't forget.
Never, ever, 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 ever. For Christ's sakes, I still go to Gangrel gatherings. I still see him. He's so pissed off. Not even for something that I did. Something for what, like, one of my cousins did. That he just blames me for because I was there at the time. I had the common sense to tell him that it was a stupid idea, but I didn't stop him.
I'm most jealous. The last time I saw my sire involved a soldering iron, a noose, and barbed wire.
Oh god.
Oh, did I forget the earplugs? Oh, they were for me, not for him. Yeah, we had issues.
I can see that.
Hmm.
Mines just threw me off a cliff and let me fend for myself a little bit. Not that bad compared to the other stories I've heard.
Compared to the stories I've heard from Elena, didn't you do the exact same thing to her?
Yeah.
I give you credit that you did not go light on her. You threw her full face into this entire mess, and to be perfectly honest, she's doing pretty well for herself.
Exactly. I knew that she would come out on the other side stronger. It's like you could just tell when people can take it. You can tell when people can just keep their stuff together through much of everything.
I say she's mostly keeping her stuff together. She kind of broke last time I had to rescue you.
It was a very, very stressful situation. I suppose anybody would be
Yeah,
broken
next
on
time.
that.
Next time someone's up for rescue, you get to rescue me. You owe me.
Aw, damn it. Because I know if they caught you, they're pretty damn clever bastards.
No, we're going to have to find some tricks for those guys. At least they're pretty much as we keep anchoring them into Baton Island. We can make sure they don't spread. No, seriously, everybody. If you got even like the little 5 minutes ahead of time, make sure that you anchoring. They are stuck where they are. Make sure they are stuck where they are. If they even buy a bowl of rice, I want one of you guys hiding with a fucking shotgun in that bowl of rice, ready to blow their head off.
Okay.
Believe me, they do the exact same thing to you.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm sorry to admit, they got Staten Island. They're never getting out of it as long as I have anything to say about it.
Great.
Yeah, damn straight. Anyways, how about we go and retire for the night? It's been a long evening, and I'm sure you all have other side businesses to take care of before the night is out.
Me? No. No. I'm gonna go ahead and walk out of here. Now come back into the proper city limits for at least 3 hours. Grad Academy, I'm gone.
Sounds good. How about I give you this rifle and you bodyguard me, and I'm going to have a chat with a couple of the demons.
What?
Nothing.
I'm gonna walk out of this office, and if you have a car waiting for me, I will walk into the car. Otherwise, I'm
Exactly.
gone.
Exactly.
At which point, Frank Green, not admitting to the fact that he may or may not be talking to any sort of otherworldly being, simply goes ahead and leaves the room.
By the way, Rick Grayson, love your new book.
Rick sort of looks to Silas and raises a brow. I've only just started working on it.
Loving it.
I'm glad you're enjoying the read so far. You might appreciate the edited, finished product more, though.
I know, I sure, but it's... Well, we'll definitely see how the sales represent. Anyways, thank you one and all for having me with you, and we shall see each other soon. I'm sure.
I very much hope so.
Before you disappear on us, maybe literally, could I get those cards from you?
Of course, of course. let me just borrow this photocopier over here, because seriously, it is difficult as hell to deal with these guys. Keep detailed notes.
Rick will sort of open his blazer and show Silas the notepad he always keeps on himself.
Good, that's a good start. Personal suggestion, as according to my note, is this one over here, Veronica. Yeah. Work with that one over here. What's not that one? Definitely not that one. This, it's a Nathan. Read through the notes. I don't know what I got written down there. I've already forgotten. You might have an easier time with this than I am.
Rick will. Is Silas handing him the cards now?
I've literally gone to the local photocopier,
Okay.
photocopying them, and then giving you the cards. And like literally, he's going through the cards, deciding some of them don't get photocopied, but some of them do get photocopied, and then he might write on them at the same time, and then hand them to you.
Okay. Rick will just smile, take them, look at them, and kind of raise a brow before sticking them in his pocket.
Please do keep me apprised of your research in that area.
Rick will look over to Lady Sheridan and smile and nod. Of course.
Thank you.
Like I said to Mr. Grayson, when dealing with that type, detailed notes. Very detailed notes.
I'll keep that in mind.
And with that, shall we call this scene to a close?
Yes. However, I will note that that when they all go their different ways, Lady Sheridan's actually going back to the rave.
Hi.
Susie?
There's another car waiting for Frank Green. He's already over there.
I was actually going to wait till the prince left the room and turn to Rick and Lady Sheridan and ask them, did you want to stop by the boiler room at all? Because I'm starting to get a little concerned that I've not gotten a phone call back from Mr. Peck. This is the longest I've waited without a phone call back.
It is somewhat
That's
concerning.
perfectly fair.
It is somewhat concerning, that and Lady Arabeth, who has yet to reply to my attempt to contact her. Admittedly, she frequently will go without responding for a while, but would have expected her to at least have contacted me by this point.
Rick will just look at Alex and to Lady Sheridan as they talk. As concerning as both of these situations are, it's not my job. And he'll
No.
smile, nod, excuse me, and he'll head out.
Perhaps it might be best attended to on another night.
If you'd be willing to come with me to the boiler room at some other night, I'd appreciate someone who might be able to talk with his staff if he's gone missing. I'm not
Yes,
sure
of course.
I'd be well received. Anyway, enjoy your evening,
Thank you.
Miss Diamond. And I leave the room.
Mm-hmm. And as I said, Lady Sheridan will head back to the rave.
Dance, 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 boom, 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 boom.
You might be surprised, actually, but yes.
Everyone else is gone. Hopper will leave. Hardly blended into the background like a good Nosferatu. No obfuscate needed there.
No, we did notice you were there.
Yeah, but he was still
I
sitting
gave
there.
you a wet wipe.
Good.
Alright.
Just hardly noticed you were there.
Anything anybody else wants to do? Just before I press the button? Alright then. Thank you everybody for coming along. Thank you watchers for watching. Y'all have a good evening. Y'all have a good night. Bye.